In this video, I'm going to show you how you can identify Asperger's in adults with 3 effective ways that you can spot it. All that is coming up. Hey guys, welcome back to TheAspieWorld. My name is Dan. I have Asperger's syndrome, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and I make weekly videos on this type of content. So if you're new around here, you want to learn more about this subject and just, see more videos, remember to hit that subscribe button by clicking the notification bell. And if you're watching over on Facebook, be sure to give this page a like and a follow to see more videos just like this one. Okay, so I found that these are the most effective ways that you can really identify Asperger's in somebody. Now, Asperger's syndrome being on the autism spectrum, it isn't classed as that anymore, it's just classed as Autism Spectrum Disorder, but it used to be classed as Asperger's syndrome up until 2013 when it was replaced in the DSM-5, which is the American Psychology Association for the way you do things like diagnose individuals with certain mental health issues and other kind of neurological issues, which is kind of interesting. So they took it out and they replaced it with Autism Spectrum Disorder, which is pretty cool. So before we go any further, guys, I'd just like to give a shout out to say, if you want to follow me on my other social media platforms like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and TikTok, I put content on all of those platforms daily. So if you want to see more content, go over and follow me on those platforms. I love interacting and talking to you guys. So drop me a DM, a comment, tweet, the type, all this stuff. So go and do that now. Okay, so before I get into my 3 easy, typical, most common ways that you can identify Asperger's in somebody, I would love to know, are you on the spectrum? Are you looking to diagnose somebody on the spectrum? Are you looking to see if your child or friend or partner has autism? Drop me a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to know your story and where you're kind of coming from. I read and respond to every single one, so do that now. Okay, so I went ahead and I kind of just took apart like the common symptoms or the common characteristics of Asperger's syndrome, and I put them down to 3 of the main ones that I think are most impacted in someone's life, that you could be like, yes, straight away, if you tick these 3 boxes, it's like a pretty much done deal that you'll be on the autism spectrum. Now, these aren't every single person, but I'm just generally talking here in a common sense, so please bear with me and just kind of understand that, these will typically, I'd say 90% of the time, these will appear in a person as characteristics and personality traits when they are on the autism spectrum. So let's jump into it and start off with number 1. Okay, so number 1 is lack of eye contact. Now, there is this thing where people on the autism spectrum, myself included, obviously, have an issue with making direct eye contact. Now, eye contact is something that is socially created to form a communication whilst interacting socially with somebody. So maintaining eye contact, looking people in the eye is a form of something like social decency and respect or something like that. But it's something that has evolved over time so that humans just look people in the eye when they talk because they feel a mutual understanding whilst looking somebody in the eye and the other person's looking back at them in their eyes. I get it from like a romantic point of view, but I don't really understand it from a social or friendship point of view. Now, this is excessively difficult for people on the autism spectrum, myself included. I find it so hard to look people in the eye. It's almost like they're reaching into my soul and pulling out my mind, and it's like so uncomfortable and it makes me feel a bit sick. So I kind of look past them a little bit, or I look at like the top of their head, and usually I just look at their shoes. Now, this does cause a lot of problems, which is like a secondary problem. So if you say, hey, that sounds like my friend who doesn't look people in the eyes, well, also it causes this issue. If you're not looking someone in the face, then you're not able to recognize their face time and time again because you've never really looked at their face. So how do you identify somebody? And again, this is a byproduct that happens a lot of the time where you can't identify somebody by their face because at the end of the day, if you're not looking at the face, how are you supposed to know what they look like? So myself, I actually look at people's shoes and I listen to people's voices, and that's how I identify people, because I have a huge issue with trying to identify people by their faces, and sometimes I can't identify my own family members, which is a bit sucky, but like it is what it is. Now, having a lack of eye contact is more prominent in autistic people than it is any other disability or just anybody on the planet. Anybody who has a neurodiversity, which is autism, will display this characteristic more so than any other type of person, which is fascinating, and it's a great key indicator to know, hey, this person that I know who doesn't have good eye contact may be on the autism spectrum. Now, if this sounds like your buddy or your friend or your loved one or you, give this video a thumbs up, let me know I'm reaching you. We're all about thinking differently. We are different thinkers in this, so we're thinking outside the box, and I love it. Thinking outside the box daily. I just love it. Okay, so number 2 is difficulty in social conversations. So People on the autism spectrum have huge issues with socializing and being social and being in social situations. Now, this is due to a few factors. One of the main factors is that autism is a communicative issue, which means it's neurological. It's how the brain is formed, and it impacts the communicative part of the brain, which causes all kinds of things from sensory input issues to verbal communication and other communication forms input as well. So when you have social conventions and social structures and these kind of like unwritten social rules like hand gestures and how far to stand from somebody and social etiquette and, you know, looking people in the eye and knowing when it's your turn to talk, knowing when to stop talking, you know, knowing when something is rude or not the right place to say something. All of these like unwritten boundaries are learned over time, and those things are learned because people generally have an ease with just being in the world, and they can focus on the things that are right in front of them, like a conversation with a friend, and then you learn as you grow up and having to know people. But people on the autism spectrum, people with Asperger's syndrome, they have a difficulty because they're seeing the world as a chaotic mess, and it's so overpowering that the last thing that they can really think about and learn about is this social construct that is supposed to be there without any written kind of formal intent, which is, I find fascinating, because it's something that I never really learned because I was so busy trying to keep myself calm, get myself to school and not freak out, and just deal with the stress of being in an environment of social anxiety and socially awkwardness. It was just never something that I kind of picked up. So if you are a person who is like this, or you know someone who's like this, it's more likely because they're on the autism spectrum. And if you combine that with difficulty making eye contact and all the other stuff, you know, then hey, this is probably why. Now, it doesn't mean that people on the autism spectrum can't have social conversations. It just means that they may have a little bit of difficulty with it, or it may take them longer to understand those formalities and those social constructs, or you may have to explain it to them in a way that they can digest it and they can understand it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just having a little bit of time. But this is very common. I think this is one of the most, it's like the number one key, understanding the difficulty with social interaction and knowing that somebody is socially awkward and socially anxious and have difficulty knowing when the conversation ends and etc. This is how you can identify they're on the autism spectrum. This is a very key indicator and a huge giveaway that they are autistic. Okay, so number 3 is rigid routines and lack of change. Now, what I mean by this is autistic people love to have strict routines that they do religiously every single day. They do the same thing. They wake up at the same time, they eat their breakfast at the same time, they sit at the table, they watch the same thing, and then they go on the same walk, and they probably work the same job for 25 years, and they wear the same clothes day in, day out, and they're not very adventurous. They go on the same holiday to the same place, and they watch the same TV programs. They probably even watch the same episode over and over again, or the same song over and over again, or skip little bits so you can just hear that one part of the song. I know you know this, guys, so hit that like button. Let me know that I'm hitting you guys here, because I love to connect with you guys and know that you feel the same. Now, this is because people on the autism spectrum love routine, because routine, you know that information. You've done it once, it becomes comfortable. There's no hidden agenda. There's no surprises in the routine. You know what's going to happen. So you can process that. You know, the day is going to run like this. So then I can focus on the other things like my job or my phone or daily life issues like bills and stuff. But if there is a kick in the road where a change happens in that routine, it becomes unbearing, and that becomes overpowering, and then meltdowns and shutdowns can happen, and it goes all messy because the routine is all messed up, and then that becomes a worry for the person on the spectrum, because they're thinking, okay, well now I can't relax with the day because the day is completely ruined because my routine is upside down. And that's something very, very interesting. So now if you know somebody, or if you yourself, you know, have difficulties changing from your routine or having any change in your routine, or don't like you have a lack of change affinity, if you have difficulty with social situations, lack of eye contact, these are all key hallmarks and giveaways of somebody on the autism spectrum who displays traits of Asperger's syndrome. And I'd highly recommend checking out an online AQ test, which I will leave a link in a pinned comment down below, where I did a video talking about how to take the test and which one's the best one to take. So I highly recommend doing that. If you have anything to add to this video, pop it in a comment, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.